All right, Billy D here with my good friend Doug Sutherland, who is the formulator for Innate Hemp. And we're going to talk about inflammation today and also the reduction of antioxidant, or using cannabis as an antioxidant. But one of the things I wanted to bring up is there's still federal restrictions on cannabis, correct?
Federal restrictions on THC.
I think it's cannabis overall, isn't it?
Well,
That's
no.
not recognized. Well, whatever. But what I find interesting is, and I want to bring this up because most people don't know.
The hemp bill, the hemp farm bill, was a backdoor to clear it.
Okay.
So that's why, like, Walmarts and other places can carry it. It can't say CBD though. It has to say hemp.
It's just funny because the United States has a patent, which is patent number U6636. 63. Let's start. US 6630507B1. The patent was dated October 7th, 2003. So that shows us that the U.S. government understands its anti-inflammatory and what it does overall, but still we're seeing a little bit of restriction on a federal level. At least we have been with our incapacity to use credit cards.
Credit cards, yeah.
So we're working on that.
Well, that might be because you might have used CBD in one of your literatures or something.
Who knows?
But if you use hemp, it's okay.
All right, whatever. It's
silly.
Just little. All right, so we're going to talk about inflammation today. Last time we talked about cancer, and I started going on a bunch of rabbit holes last night. That's why I got all this research here.
Yeah, you did a lot. I was trying to figure out.
And it's like, and then I opened more and more, bringing more Pandora's box. But so what it says in this one article, this is an article, cannabinoids as a novel anti-inflammatory drug. Cannabinoids downregulate cytokine and chemokine production, and in some models, upregulate T regulatory cells as a mechanism to suppress inflammatory responses. The endocannabinoid system is involved in immunoregulation. For example, administration of endocannabinoids or the use of inhibitors of enzymes that break down endocannabinoids lead to immunosuppression and recovery from immune-mediated injury to organs such as the liver. Manipulation of endocannabinoids and the use of exogenous cannabinoids, which we're talking about phytocannabinoids here, in vivo can constitute a potent treatment modality against inflammatory disorders. Okay.
So what the heck does that mean?
Basically, what it's saying is the cannabinoids are shown, and I want people to understand that you have an endocannabinoid system in your body, which is really just to modulate a lot of factors. I think there was something in here.
Which they can be modified and triggered, not necessarily through cannabis. They can be triggered through different types of phytokinetic acids and different other things too.
Yeah, but also what I want people to understand is they have their own endogenous system of cannabinoids, and there's a whole list of them that I didn't even know about. I knew about anandamide and arachidonyl glycerol, but then there was a bunch more that there's. The thing is, this is like a wide open frontier, and the more and more time, it's just been shunned for so long, and the research hasn't been done. Because they know this is going to really, probably in a lot of respects, replace a lot of pharmaceuticals that are being utilized for because 85%, I think, disease is caused from being in from it being in an inflammatory state. So if we've got this plant that will reduce that inflammation naturally without any of the negative side effects that pharmaceuticals have, we're going to see a boon for cannabis, and we're going to see also a major reduction in people's utilization for things like OxyContin and opioids, which we know that...
And all the cortisoids.
Right.
Which are even the hugest ones. Well, I think part of the reason why I think most of the studies started in the 60s. That one guy that was allowed to smoke pot every day, they started really studying on inflammation. And then that's kind of, I think where they're moving for this is that they legalized it so that they can bring in the synthetics.
Right, of course. That's what they're going to do. And the synthetics have horrible side effects because they're not using the entourage effect and the effect of all the synergistic effects of all the terpenes and the bioflavonoids,
right.
and the other friggin' cannabinoids that are in there. They're focusing on just CBD and a synthetic version of it, which is even worse, which is probably made from petroleum-based products. Who knows? But we see that the stuff works so amazing, and not only is inflammation contributing to a lot of pain syndromes people have. That's why most chiropractic. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a good supplement that people can take really on a daily basis as a preventative, because it's lowering inflammation in the body and decreasing oxidative stress. But I look at all the other benefits it has as far as preventing osteoporosis, preventing cancer. So we're doing this on a really kind of like almost you take a multiple vitamin. I think it's really good to lower your sympathetic stress and your dominance, so you can sleep more, sleep better, decrease anxiety, decrease your capacity as it kills cancer cells. So it's got multitudes of benefits. And that's why I take it every day before bed.
I take it in the morning. Well, no, I do it at night too.
But let's get back to one of the things I went through this research, and I know you mentioned this before, was the fact that the roots, a traditional therapy with future potential for treating inflammation. There's a bunch of other compounds in the roots that I didn't even know about. The triterpenoids, fridolin, ephedrine. There's alkaloids in there. I mean, so
the alkaloids are the biggest, I think.
Yeah, because they're going to help decrease pain a lot.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the nice thing is everything we do, we include the roots.
Right.
All the time. Everything.
And I never knew that prior to speaking to you about it. I didn't know the roots were such a...
But a large part of the problem is a lot of the companies, they say a full plant extract. They very rarely use the roots because it takes quite a bit. Like if you've been in the business for a bit, it takes a lot of effort to get the roots clean enough to even use. And then it's usually the tap root. It's not all the roots. So you got to get it clean. Got to process that. But then when they throw it through CO2 extraction, you're just blowing everything back out anyway. So you end up with nothing. So the nice thing about with the products that you're using is we do a really gentle process of pulling out everything out of the roots.
Now, we talked about the freeze-dried products last week, which I think is going to be a boon.
I think will always end up talking about it because it's the base.
Right. But are we including the roots in that as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
They're juiced.
Right.
So there's no heat involved.
All right, good.
It's a gentle press. It's not the crazy one that puts the heat on it. And it's freeze-dried right there. So you're really getting the best of the best.
Right, and it says right here, of note, cannabis roots are not a significant source of delta-9 THC, cannabidiol, which is CBD, and other known phytocannabinoids.
You're getting that in the flower.
Yeah, of course you are, but I'm saying if somebody was really concerned about having THC, we could just do like even root extracts for...
Yeah, we do. We have root tinctures.
Okay. Yeah. So that's another option. I mean, I'm learning a lot as I continue to research on this.
But it's kind of like dandelion roots are better for you than the dandelion itself.
Right, right.
The roots are a big thing. I mean, they're sitting in that whole world of love down there, so you've got everything there.
All right. And what else did you want to throw in as far as... So inflammation includes even autoimmune reactions. So as cannabis can be also downregulate increased autoimmunity, like things like RA, rheumatoid arthritis, colitis, and Crohn's disease. And I want to do specific like shows and episodes on just specific diseases and how we can best work with cannabis and chiropractic. Chiropractic's integral part of all of this as far as decreasing inflammation and moving people more into a state of parasympathetic dominance versus sympathetic dominance.
Yeah.
And so it's not just cannabis. We're not just... I mean, I think I use it as a tool, like I've got autistic kids. I mean, the same thing with them. That we've got a decreased inflammation in the brain, and we've got to do hyperbaric if you want. I mean, you don't have to do this as a chiropractor, but I'm just saying
a lot of
these people are
moving that
I
way.
know, but they're going to go somewhere else. And I mean, for me, I don't mind. I bought the hyperbaric for me. I'm going to use that. You know what I'm saying? And I bought the Beamer for me. That's another way of increasing circulation to specific parts of the body.
Get Avicin too.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I think I guess inflammation is such a big subject. It's the base of everything, right?
Yeah.
You could have just simple inflammation from breaking your leg to, but that overall inflammation that you're enduring every day, that's the problem.
Right.
That's at least that's been my big problem. I think that's the basis of my problems as well. And I think chiropractors, it really helps me when I do it. I notice my inflammation goes down if I stick to it. But then the sugars, I think, are a big part of it.
As far as what?
The inflammation for like me. The sugars make a huge difference.
You mean eating sugar?
Yeah, cutting the sugar out for me was a huge problem.
Oh, dude, I have to cut my sugar out too.
I don't even have it anymore. I mean, I had rheumatoid arthritis to the point, and it just completely reversed with just pretty much just quitting sugars and then upping up the amount of CBG I got.
Okay, so let's talk about that now, because obviously THC gets a lot of the research. And there was another article. I want to see if I can find that real quick. I know I should be a little bit more organized, but that's not my strong suit. They talked about how they did studies on the capacity for different cannabinoids to decrease inflammation. And what I found interesting was some of the same thing that we mentioned on the last, and pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines. A systematic review.
Yeah, I have that.
I'm a horrible reader. One thing I'm horrible at is reading. It talks about the association between cannabinoid-induced anti-inflammatory response and disease severity was examined in 22 studies where CBD, CBG, or CBD in combination with THC were administered. A reduction in the levels of at least one inflammatory cytokine was observed, and in 24 studies, some improvements in disease or disability were apparent. THC alone did not reduce pro-inflammatory cytokine levels, but resulted in improvements in neuropathic pain in one study. Conclusion: the review shows that CBD, CBG, and probably CBN and CBD plus THC combinations exert a predominantly anti-inflammatory effect in vivo, whereas THC alone does not reduce inflammation or increase anti-inflammatory cytokines. So, with that saying, I think THC's got all this, it's the high flyer, and it's the one that gets a lot of the press. It's the one that gives you the psychoactive effect. And I know many people want to utilize cannabis as a way to decrease inflammation, but they don't want the effects of THC. And a lot of people can't even have THC because of the fact that they're doing drug testing or whatever, or they're in a recovery or treatment. So I'm seeing from this that we don't even need THC, and we even talked about that last week as far as cancer is concerned. And as I think the research opens up more and more, we're going to see the fact that THC is not going to get that much credit. Like a lot of times people have in the past said, you need a THC for it's anti-cancer.
I was there too at that point.
Right. And now we're seeing through the research that's not necessary.
No, and especially after, all the clients that we have that we're treating, seeing that the tumors are reversing and inflammation's reversing more so with CBG and faster with less.
Okay.
Where you would need when you're doing a cancer, the old paradigm was 1 gram of THC. So not 1 gram of oil, but 1 gram of actual THC. So most oils are 85% or so. So you got to subtract 15, so you're really getting 1.3 grams or something. So CBG we're finding 30%, so 70% less of getting the same type of reaction of tumor reduction. And we're doing a lot with just skin and seeing it. You can see it right there. You don't necessarily have to look under a microscope. You can see it in front of you, reducing quickly.
All right, so I know the suppositories that we use for which you sell, I don't sell because I can't sell them legally, in the past had a significant amount of THC. You are now making those with less THC, or where are we inclined to go with that?
Well,
or no THC. I think that would be optimum for most people because
I'm using no THC now.
Okay.
So when you get that weird prostatitis for no freaking reason, you get older.
Well, you got inflammation. Your prostate's going to be affected, and then you're going to
big sponge at the bottom.
Right.
So I was always heavy. Well, let's just do the THC. I would do heavy THC, and I've stopped completely. I've noticed that the CBG actually, I'm getting less inflammation. The prostatitis is gone in a day or two, and I'm using less and I don't have that weird groggy feeling. It's not getting you high, but it definitely, like you said it too, it definitely makes you feel like you did something all night.
No, I mean, it affected me. I mean, I actually woke up and went to pee that night, and I felt like I was a little buzzed.
Buzzed.
And I know patients are going to hate that. And then the next day, I kind of felt, like you said, a little cotton-mouthy.
Yeah,
That way.
And theoretically, you're not supposed to, but it is.
Well, yeah, everything in theory. Just like the other thing is you've got that new cannabis strain that you talked about. Is it champagne, or what was it called?
Oh, Chardonnay.
Chardonnay. Which theoretically has 0 THC
or 0.03. It's under the Farm Bill. So
okay, so let's talk about that. That's going to be a product where we can really do the freeze-dried stuff with no THC, really, because if you're not going to heat it, you're not going to get the Delta 9 THC, right?
No.
So you're going to have the acid form, which is the non-decarboxylated form of it.
Right, and you're getting so quick at this.
But I actually tested that the other night, the Chardonnay, and it seemed to have some type of slight psychoactive effect.
Which I know people say the same thing. They feel pretty euphoric off it, but we test every batch, so you have to.
So could it be the other cannabinoids when they're actually vaporized could have some type of psychoactive effect?
Well, I don't know if it's psychoactive or euphoric because I think it might come back down to inflammation more than anything, of where you're just getting the release off the edema that's being pressed from the actual inflammation onto the nerves in your central nervous system. So the edema is gone. Okay. So then you're actually able to feel things and see things a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's what it was for me. It wasn't like I felt.
You're not like hungry.
No,
like being an idiot. You're just like, I really do feel better.
But I did really enjoy playing my guitar, so that's usually something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the CBD, CBG, or whatever it was in that. Okay.
Maybe it was good waves.
No, it was. There was definitely
CBD. Yeah, so I think the
positive.
I think I think a lot of it's the terpenes too, because
of course
I can do a little trick with some people where I've done it, where have you ever smoked headband? You guys know what headband?
No,
I'm
I
sure
don't
they do.
It's
a specific
strain.
It's a strain that it gives you this numb feeling across the brow when you do smoke it.
Like cement shoes where you can't walk?
Well, no, not like cement shoes. It really does feel like you have a headband on. And so what's doing that is beta caryophyllene, and it's just it's a base terpene. So I can take straight, like just say a straight, like what you have here, just straight CBD. Like if you were to vape this, it would do nothing to you. But if you add in some beta caryophyllene with some myrcene, it makes you feel like you have a band all the way across your head. It's so strong. And people are like, oh man, that's the best headband I've ever smoked. I'm like, that's not headband.
Right.
So a lot of the times I think where you're getting some of that feeling from smoking, let's say the Chardonnay, you're actually just getting terpenes that are giving you the effects of it's more the terpenes than anything.
And in the beginning, I mean, I saw the whole like doTERRA essential oil kind of movement, and I really didn't really understand it. Again, like in the beginning, I even thought the whole medical cannabis was a joke because I didn't really understand the science behind it, and I thought it was just people's way of trying to get weed without, you know.
I did too. When I first found out I had cancer,
what are you talking about?
I've been smoking weed all my life, and I still have cancer. It doesn't do nothing.
Well, there's other factors too.
Yeah, there's a lot once you really get into it.
You get into the emotions and feelings and all that stuff, which I'm doing right now with that book, which is a great book, by the way. Feelings.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book. That one that Dr. Artis had.
Yeah, Dr. Artis. Right.
I bought it too. I can't remember the name of it, but it's good.
No, it's Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die, or something like that. So that's it. So anything else so I think important, you know, other than decreasing inflammation, I think people drinking alkaline water,
structured water,
eating foods that are not pro-inflammatory, like all the lectins that are in a lot of the foods that people eat. You mentioned sugar, which is not even sugar anymore. It's high fructose corn syrup sprayed with endocrine disruptors like glyphosate.
And that leads into a lot of the breads and things people are eating.
Right.
because then you're just eating the GMOs and the glyphosate. So.
And then all the subluxation people have in their spine, which is creating not only the pain, but it's creating inflammation in the areas where they have subluxation. I mean, just look at somebody that's got a low back problem. They've got tons of inflammation in their lower back or neck or wherever. So chiropractic's at the precipice of what needs to be done to decrease inflammation. And then we use adjuncts like whether you want to drink alkaline water or not, it's up to you. I mean, I do, and I feel its benefits. I think that there's, people take fish oils. I would rather just eat the fish myself.
Kind of hard to do sometimes just because of metals.
And then we're going to eat a diet that's low in an inflammatory response, which means limiting lectins, eating shit food, which most people eat. Most people eat garbage that's disguised as trash. And
well, unfortunately, all of it is. I mean, that now they're saying they're going to the FDA just came down and saw this. They're mandatorying all mRNA shots now for all the beef.
Mandating?
Yeah, starting next year.
For beef?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
So good luck going out eating.
I wouldn't go raise your own cow now. You got to raise weed in your backyard.
That's what I don't raise my own cow, but I go out in the middle of nowhere and find a rancher and I buy their cow. I go out and I look for any baloney they're playing with any of their stuff, and they're not. And
well, you think those ranchers would be able to continue to raise their meat without?
So far, yeah, because they don't. They're just
they understand the game.
They understand the game.
You're just talking like commercial meat houses, like
yeah. You're not going to get around. I mean, if you're going to eat at McDonald's or anything
McToilet,
whatever
who
you're
would
eating,
eat there anyways?
I don't know. People still do. You go. I can't believe they
do.
They
do.
They look at them. But just even going to like a nice steakhouse at like Ruth Christie's, they're not going out maybe they do, but I don't know. I wouldn't eat out anymore personally.
I don't eat out anymore. It's a waste of money.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Because it's super expensive. You don't know what you're getting, and I would rather just cook my own piece of fish and have some broccoli, or have a steak and have some cauliflower, or have some radishes, and just keep it really simple and clean.
Simple, yeah.
And not eat at a restaurant that's gonna, you can't get in and out of a restaurant for two people for under $100 anymore. And that's not with me not even drinking. So
no,
you
can't even get a carne asada burrito for under $10 now.
Right. The other day I was gonna go eat a burrito. I said, I wonder if I can go get a healthy vegetarian burrito. And I said, you know what? Why don't you just go home and make it? And I did. Yeah. And then I actually got some halibut. All right, so anything else you want to add to the anti-inflammatory effects of cannabis to this thing? So we can do it without the THC. We can do it with the other cannabinoids. We also want to do it with the terpenes. There's other things in the plant. And you have endogenous cannabinoids that do it naturally, but the problem is most people are endocannabinoid deficient, and due to all the stress we have in life, not only the emotional stress, but chemical and structural stress. So supplementation with phytocannabinoids, i.e. cannabis, is helping us decrease inflammation. We're learning now that we can do it again without THC. We can do it with CBD, CBG, CBN, and the myriad of other cannabinoids which have not even been discovered yet. And the effective receptors, the CB1 receptor, which affects mostly brain, and CB2 receptors affect mostly the immune system. And that's where we get the immune modulatory effects of cannabis that not only helps kill cancer cells, but also keeps that autoimmune overreaction of inflammation at bay, limiting things and helping things like we'll talk about in the future, RA, rheumatoid arthritis, colitis, MS. Those are all future shows. And if you've got any things you want to ask us, you can put it in the remarks below, and we'll be more than happy to get back to those questions. I will, or Doug will. And you got one thing you want to share there?
I just wanted to show you what is going on in the plant. And not
so
that's the assay that we pulled on the juice. So this isn't anything we added. This is everything that comes out of the plant.
So this, like you said, is in a tablespoon. We're going to recommend people do quarter teaspoon.
It's just too much. Yeah, I've been trying to do table, and I'm like corn Julio all day on the stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So it's got a lot of vitamin B3 in it, B6, vitamin E's high,
really high.
Riboflavin, iron, zinc, calcium, magnesium's pretty high too. Chlorophyll, but you also see essential fatty acids, omega-3s, omega-6. You also got CBD-A and CBD-G. I mean, there's just
there's everything in it.
And then all the terpenes, and again, all that stuff in the biocomplex. Okay.
And then a little bit what we didn't talk about is just some more biochemistry on it, is that a lot of the inflammation too, I've found from studying, is that it comes our iron and copper cycle is all messed up, and then so no one's able to hold the magnesium because you need that cycle right to be able to assimilate magnesium, and then the magnesium is a big push behind CB1 receptors, so you've got to get that equalized. And then the best way to do that is if it comes all in one plant instead of trying to supplement and chase it, because you're never going to get, just all the different types of forms that they put in and all the fillers they put in. You're never going to get that iron copper ratio right. So the best way to do it is just straight through the plant.
That's right.
And then, so we just always go back to that. That's why when I've been trying to get this hemp juice thing going since 2008, but everyone thought I was crazy.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
because you don't have to grow it in your backyard anymore.
Yeah,
and people can't do it.
Yeah, I've been trying so hard. I'm like, the farmer's like, you want me to do what to my flower? I'm like, I want you to grind it up and juice it. And like,
well, I mean, the thing is, like we said last week, it's like, I personally feel that using the rest of the plant, which usually gets thrown out, is probably the best way to get that through. And I think there's a lot of things, even in the roots, like we just discussed, that will be beneficial. I don't think you're going to actually need to use the flowers, and they can sell that to dispensaries and use it for what it needs to be done, and then grind up the rest of the plant, which we know has a lot of beneficial cannabinoids in it, and also even some of the alkaloids that we talked about.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to sign off with Doug.
Goodbye.
And this is Hemp Haven, episode 2. Leave your comments below if you like it. If you don't like it, let us know that too. It's all right. We love you all. We don't expect everybody to like us.
We'll have some
Thanks,
haters.
bro. Thanks for coming. You came up from Fall Break just to do the show. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right.